ManeHustle Media Podcasts are recorded on the ancestral lands of the Chumash, Tongva, Karanka, and Hohokam people, and I wish to pay my respects to the people of those nations, both past and present.
Hey y'all, welcome to the Queer Femmes Podcast, a travel podcast from a couple of queer femmes providing tips and resources for traveling safely while Black, brown, queer, disabled, or from any marginalized group in between. I am one of your co-hosts, Sir Auntie Sharmane Fury, aka daBlasianBlerd, joined by
Shae Nahnigans. Hey-o.
Hey-o. And we have been gone for a minute. I got super duper sick in November, and it lasted for about 4 weeks, and now I'm still dealing with the lingering cough. I did not have the Rona. I had the other thing.
Yeah, the thing. And then I got sick on you.
And then you got sick. And we did try, I think one time we were going to get together, but it didn't work out. And
because your ceiling fell down.
Oh yeah, my ceiling fell down in the bathroom.
We're gonna show pictures. Okay, this is where we're gonna edit.
We're gonna show pictures. I don't want to show pictures. So it's been a dramatic November and partial December. And while technically I'm usually on mental health hiatus in December from podcasting, not having gotten any work done in November, I'm doing some podcast work here in December. But also our audience is now, I think, a month out without getting an episode. And we're too new of a show to have that long of a wait.
We're allowed to fall apart, but we got to get it together.
We got to get it together.
All right. So should we tell them the good news?
Which good news?
You have a little app on your phone that's a countdown.
Oh, I didn't know if that's a good news. I've had that counter since August.
Tell our internets.
So internets, we have determined that we have determined a move date. We had a rough date for a while, but now we have an official move date from Houston to Merida. We are going to be, well, actually all of us will be traveling together on March 22nd or 23rd. It's 22nd, 23rd, 2023, and we are finally moving to Merida. So if based off of the 22nd, 102 days.
That's right.
The countdown begins.
Done.
Okay. I know I'm going to miserably fail at this, but one of my goals is that every day for 100 days, I post something about.
I love that.
Leading up to this thing.
I love that.
I think I'm going to fail miserably at that because every time I even try to go 30 days doing some kind of post stuff, I fail.
I know.
But this is a real big change. If everything goes well with what we're going to be doing, I will never live in the United States again. So 102 days. That's where we is.
So here's the mini plan that we know, because we all know that planning is great, but when you're doing something like this, nothing goes according to plan. But this is the mini plan.
The mini plan.
Because of it's been a little interesting trying to find online work, right? So my partner can't just up and leave because he's needed here in the United States. We're going to kind of be the backers, but we're going to travel to and from. So the plan is
you're gonna do the snowbird method.
It makes me feel like one of those people I don't like, but that's okay. It's true.
It's just the reverse snowbird because you're leaving Arizona to go somewhere
else.
Yeah.
So, but the plan is my partner and I, Vortis or Jeff, we're going to get on a plane from Phoenix, Arizona. We are going to fly to Houston to meet up with Sharmane and Tristan. We are going to each be assigned a cat. El gato. Because we have four.
Cuatro gatos.
And we are going to be in charge of one cat on the plane.
Everybody gets a cat.
That's right. From Houston to Merida.
Yeah.
We are still trying to figure out what's the best way of how to stay down there because right now, Sharmane and Tristan and the cats, they are the priority. So we're thinking that maybe they get their own spot because the cats might need their own, room to be in. So they're like, where am I? It smells weird.
Or if we get maybe a 3-bedroom spot and have a cat room or some shit like that.
Something. Or you get something and then I'll be closer. But we'll figure it out. but they're the priority. They're the ones that if they need the money, they need the this, they need
and
the
you're
move,
gonna stay in Merida with us essentially for about 2.5 to 3 weeks.
3 weeks, yeah.
We are going to use that time to meet with the right people that we're supposed to meet with to secure a actual more permanent residence during that time.
Yep.
And do as much exploring as you're comfortable doing out in the world. And just kind of settling in. What's great about this is that I know that at a minimum, we're committed to at least a 5 to 6 month time there. And if we love it, our plan is to just hunker.
Yep.
And maybe reach out for residency. If you get down there and you're like, this is fine.
Yeah.
But I think I want to try the other places. Then every time you come down, we will go and visit someplace else.
We'll do someplace else.
Yeah.
I hope. I mean, I've never been there, but I have a feeling I'm going to love it. The only thing that makes me have anxiety, or the two top things, are the dogs and work.
I mean, fingers crossed, we can use this show as a jump off to whatever it is that we're doing down there.
Exactly.
I with my work as the podcaster of like Militantly Mixed and Blerd Comics and stuff like that, my goal is to always do something that is community building in some way, shape, or form, helping mixed folks, helping Black and brown folks, helping intersectional people, basically, which is obviously this show is doing the same thing. So it's really about just finding that niche that allows me to pull my passions, all of my passions together into one thing, which Queer and Far, more than any of the other things I have, is kind of that thing. It's, you know, I get to be my brown self, my queer self, my comic book nerd, my traveling enthusiast, and hopefully in some way, shape, or form, I'll be able to parlay this into the like heritage built, like the heritage tracing type of stuff that I've been wanting to do for a long time. So that, like, I don't really know where to start, but I'm hoping that just jumping to a new country and like having to deal with my own cultural immersion, that I'll be able to figure out a way to do something into that. One of the things that has been very passionate for you that we've been talking about for the last couple of years is some form of assistance for both trans and disabled people to travel, or to travel for medical reasons or what have you, or even to get settled somewhere else. So between the two of us, for safety. So between the two of us, if we're able to find a way to create some sort of safe travel platform that will cover all of the things that we're trying to cover, I think there's something there that you and I together could actually do really well. Okay. So if we're either going to be travel entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs that travel.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. No, the big thing is we're going to figure it out. Right. Sorry, camera. Come on.
Every time you get close to the camera, you blur out.
It's because I move too much. I got
Yeah, that's your spot right there.
I'm so animated. I need to not be that way, but
my big thing is that I like to lean in for emphasis to my microphone.
Okay, so that's it. So we're 102 days. We're going to be giving you guys updates as we go along.
Yes. So the day we are recording this is December 10th, but 102 days. The counter has started to tick, 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 tick. And yeah, that's it got real as shit when we've. And really, the date has more to do. It's a combination of things. Is that I kind of was like, March. I don't want to go any further than March. I'm just like done. I don't want to let it linger. March puts me a year after I left the comic book shop. I was already talking about moving to Merida back then. Yeah. But without setting a date, it's just an idea. Even when we started the show, it was still just kind of an idea. But when you said, okay, I finally have a break where we can, because I think maybe I was being a little like nervous about just going. But if we go as a group effort, that was a little bit of an easier thing. So when you gave me that date thing, I'm like, well, actually that works out. Technically, my lease here where I'm living ends the end of February. I've talked to them about extending for 1 month. They've said that's fine. And that's it. Okay. So that's what we're doing. Or 23rd.
And to be fair, I would prefer to be doing this the way maybe Sharmane was doing it. Hey, we're gone. Let's go. But that's not,
Yeah.
it's not an option. So
Yeah.
we're going to do another option. And that's the thing that I think you and I have talked about so often is that we can make plans, but more importantly, let's have options.
Yeah.
Because we still want to make this work. So let's make it work. Have as many options as possible.
Yeah. Like, I think where it's gotten for Tree and me is that we don't have a home anymore.
Yeah.
Meaning, like, there's not a city or a town that we feel is our home. We have moved around. We're very nomadic people. We're both military kids. So, like, we both kind of like moving. I think probably Tree more than I would like to settle somewhere. But the things that we enjoy are totally different. I like city life. He does not. I don't like suburbs or small towns. He does. Everywhere we've been has been one of us is fine and thriving and the other one's not. Yeah. And I'm hoping that even though Merida is a small city, because it's in a different culture and because, you know, maybe their version of city life is different, you know, to where I can feel like I still have access to that city life while also having a slower pace life. And as I'm getting older, I am also kind of wanting a slower pace life too, or whatever, I guess. So, but it being someplace where I can actually explore and engage in different cultural practices and things like that, I think is becoming more important to me than whether or not like 40 cabs drive past me before I get one, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think hopefully if we both like it, hopefully that will be someplace that we can always return back to. Even though ultimately for me, my goal for the future is that I end up getting my dual citizenship and setting up a permanent residency in the UK somewhere. And then bouncing to other countries for 2 to 3 months at a time to live, a year maybe at the most. I would like to spend a year in Japan if I could. I would like to spend a year in Gabon if I could, because those are my heritage places. If that would be too difficult, then I would like to at least spend 2 to 3 months living in these, you know, other places and then coming back to my main home. But for at least the next possibly 2 to 3 years, 4 years if we want to get residency in Mexico. So yeah, I am still actively trying to learn Spanish and Japanese at the same time at different times of day, which is very difficult. And I don't have a polyglot mind. I would love to be a polyglot, but I'm not. So like earlier today when we said about the cats, I said cuatro, and in my head I was going neko, 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 neko. And then I was like, what the fuck is the word? Because I know the word in Spanish, but neko was screaming louder in my head. So I got to work on how to separate.
We're gonna mess up. We're gonna mess up, and then people are gonna look at us like this.
Listen, when I'm on my Pimsleur or I'm on my Duolingo, the confidence in my Spanish is so strong.
Oh, right.
And then the minute my ceiling in my bathroom collapsed and Jimmy comes in to come and fix it, and he's like, how's your Spanish coming? And I'm like, suddenly I don't know any words. I just could, like, yeah, I get completely.
I'm so appreciative of Jeff because he loves it. He loves messing up. He'll walk right into a full room and he'll just start going, and they're like, oh, okay. This is the word we use instead. And he just loves it. He loves
likes
it.
To be taught.
Yeah, well, he doesn't mind, and it's really important. Like, you're gonna do this, you're gonna be embarrassed, you're gonna feel awkward, and he doesn't have a problem with that at all. He's way better at that than I am.
This is what's been so weird. This year alone, I've discovered 2 things about myself that I did not know was a problem, because in most cases, I do not get embarrassed. I don't have that embarrassment gene. I could spill, I could fall, I could any kind of things. I could fart loud. Like, I do not get embarrassed around people. I just don't. And it's a joke in my family and in my household that like that I have no shame, but not in like a aggressive way, but just in like a, so you'll never see that person again. Who cares?
Yeah,
or,
who cares?
All right, so you farted. They're going to fart too. They're just not doing it in front of you.
Everybody farts.
Yeah, like I just don't have that. But a problem that we're having, and why we don't release more travel videos, is that I am terrible at maintaining my phone camera recording while in public because I
Yeah.
suddenly get really self-conscious that people think I'm one of those creators. I am one of those creators, but for some reason I'm afraid that people are going to think that. And I think that feeling I'm experiencing is embarrassment. But because I don't have any frame of reference for embarrassment, like I literally never have, it's like...
Right.
It's like learning. It's like how TikTok is showing me that I'm probably autistic and I just need to go get a diagnostic. It's like that. It's like show me on the cards what emotion I'm supposed to have in this moment.
Yes.
That's what I'm experiencing, of just like, is this embarrassment because like my skin's hot, I'm aware of everybody, even though they're not looking at me, I'm assuming that they're looking at me and judging me, and I just feel sweaty and weird, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stop. And so like you even said like I can't make a video off of this because like you did like a 1 second video, and it's just like people are looking at me. So that's
or it's upside down. I got more pictures of your butt.
Or I'm like walking with it in my butt pocket and didn't realize I didn't turn it off. Which, like, I apologize to my Japanese ancestors. I've always been a really great photographer, but I'm a terrible videographer. So there's a thing. So that's one thing I've learned this year about myself. And the other thing is that I am so uncomfortable speaking a language to the people who speak that language, but I love to speak a language that is not my language to people who don't speak that language.
Yep.
I will speak Japanese in front of you all day. French, sure. Spanish, sure. You get me in front of a speaker of that natural, a natural speaker, and suddenly I'm just like, I don't know words anymore. How does my tongue work? I don't understand. Like, I can't, and I guess that's another embarrassment thing. I did not realize I harbored I really thought I just like lacked an embarrassment gene.
Right.
So it's kind of jarring to like go 45 years or 44, I guess, from last year, never thinking I was never going to have this problem. And just like now I have this huge like impact.
Okay. So you know how outgoing I am usually, right?
Yes.
And I'll talk to anyone. It's ever since like this pandemic stuff, like I could talk, if you're online, fine. On the phone, whatever. Face to face, I am no longer good at it anymore.
Face to face?
Yeah, especially when they start getting close to me, I start going,
oh yeah. I've always hated when people come close
I
to me.
know.
But yeah.
And I actually question myself if that's what it's been like for you when people get close or touch you. I'm so hyper that when people in my vicinity or touch me now.
You know that, like that experiment you always did as a kid when you had two magnets and you would push the sides that didn't touch? I have that force field.
Okay.
So if someone starts to come into that, I feel that pressure.
Yes.
And my body starts to,
back.
And for a long time it became, and this is one of those things like a cultural competency that people probably don't even realize that they're being problematic when they're doing it. But people would be like, oh, I'm a hugger, it's fine. And I'm like, I'm not a hugger. And they're like, it's okay. And they would just like invade my body space. And until I started telling people, you do not have consent to touch my body. And then they'd go, whoa, like I was the one being crazy. And I'm like, I do not like to be touched or have my private area, what's that called? Personal space. Or have my personal space invaded. So when you telling me it's no big deal, I'm a hugger, you're telling me I don't care, you don't have body autonomy, like all kinds of stuff. And that it's just going to be better if I just let you hug me. And people think that there's some kind of tragedy that happened to me, and that's why I don't like to be touched. The tragedy that happened to me is that I am the product of a British and Japanese family. Like, that's the tragedy. I come from two cultures, and tragedy in quotation fingers. I come from two cultures that are non-physically affectionate. The way that those two cultures show affection are in totally different ways. With East Asian in particular, it's food. I'm going to feed the shit out of you, and then I'm going to tell you you're fat afterwards. I'm going to tell you need to eat more. I'm going to feed you, and then I'm going to tell you you're fat afterwards. That is how you get affection in an East Asian household. It's a stereotype, but it's a stereotype for a reason, because it comes from reality. Some stereotypes do. That's how I know my Japanese family loves me, because they said, oh, you need to eat. They feed me. Then they tell me I'm getting fat. That is how it works. On the British side, hard to say, but I think I just didn't have that kind of nana. Like my nan is not the kind that was like dole out a compliment or anything like that. So I couldn't tell you to this day if my Nana actually loved me. Couldn't tell you. I know she's still alive or whatever. We don't talk anymore, but I could not tell you. But my cousin that I'm close to pays for shit and then tells me to shut up. So I think that's how.
Oh, you mean like just buys you stuff and then just says,
Yes.
shut up. I don't want to talk to you though. Don't hug me.
Yes.
Don't talk about feelings.
Don't talk about feelings.
Don't do that.
Just
feelings
take this plane ticket. You know, like I think that's because like he's the reason why I got to England in 2014. He was like, I'm buying you a ticket. Just tell me what airport and what your birth date is. And, you know, like the things.
Right.
And I was like, no, that's too much money. And he's like, I'm doing it anyway, but it's going to be worse if I don't have your information. So just give me your information, you know, like that. And then it was like, don't talk about the money after that. Just leave it alone. So I think that's how British people will show affection, or at least my family. It was just like,
how are we going to maneuver through
a more touchy culture? Okay, so I do have issues with it, and actually, this is the accidental topic for today. So it's actually a good one. So okay, the way my brain works, I think, is that if I'm aware of a cultural practice that's outside of my own, I can usually adjust to it well if I understand it. If I understand that it's a thing. Right. So like, for many, many years, I had a best friend who was Arabic, and their family kisses 3 times on the face, you know, whatever, while squeezing and hugging and stuff like that. It was jarring at first, but once I got used to it and became aware of it, then it became automatic for me. So if I was in the presence of Arabs, it turned on, whether it was that family or different Arabs. I can just do it. And it doesn't make me cringe like if some rando just comes up and wants to hug me or tells me they're a hugger. Because like I've had time to tell myself, oh, this is a cultural practice that exists. Right. With my black side of my family or black people in general, I'm usually far more affectionate to my black friends than I am to anybody else, because affection is different in the black community than it is in like the other parts of my family. And so even though my black family was also interlaced with being British, and like my immediate family was not physically affectionate, our extended family was. And so the times I had to be around them, I could adjust to that. It still stresses me out a little bit sometimes, but I find myself a little bit, I can get to an affectionate port in a relationship or friendship with black American friends faster than I can with any other people.
Okay.
Any other people. Full stop. Italians, I've had, I mean, you're one of them. Yeah. Italian friends are very affectionate. Like there's friends that I would actually be more affectionate with, but because they're very thoughtful about my touching thing, they are not physically affectionate with me. Like my co-host on Blerd Comics, he and I will hug when we see each other, but for the most part, we don't have a physical huggy type relationship or friendship or something like that. So when he would see me start to show my signs that I'm getting uncomfortable with how many people around me, he forms this like arm bubble.
I can't wait to meet him.
Which he doesn't touch me, but he's 6'5", so he's gigantic. And he would
just what's his name again?
You know, and kind of guide me out of a space. So he's just a good friend who can tell my tells. And rather than contribute to it by touching me to steer me, he just gives me an air bubble to.
What's his name? Is it something with red?
Shambe.
But
he goes by Blerd Vision on.
Okay. Oh, that's that. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So it's things like that. Like I have friends that like him I've known since I was 8 years old. We're definitely past the point of me being uncomfortable, and I could definitely be more touchy with him, but he's aware of my thing, and so he's just mindful of it, and he's like, I don't want to violate your comfort, so I'm not going to do it.
I'm looking forward. I'm just looking forward to like testing some things out and knowing I'm going to have anxiety because of medical issues, internet.
Sure.
Like my partner and I have been pretty much in isolation this entire time. We still do classes. We still do I do stuff where I do interact with people on a daily basis, but we do that outside. We do it.
Yeah.
I've
seen you since the pandemic, and we've stood
away from each other.
Yeah. During that.
And she knows me. I am not like that, but now I notice that I am more like this now than ever before. And I'm hoping I can make a little bit of, I'd like to be a little bit more personal. or
So I get
open?
super, super touchy once I get past a hump with somebody.
Yeah.
I get super, super touchy, almost like a cat. You know, the cat that'll like won't let you touch it, but will always
Don't
put a
touch
paw
me.
on you when you're sitting next to you. I'm that. I'm very much that. Um,
Are you okay?
but so yeah, like I think I'll be able to adjust. I think at first, like it'll take me a couple of tries, and then all of a sudden it'll happen. But a lot of times, like even here living in the third ward of Houston, I am around a predominantly Black community, and so there's more times that people would just hug me. The other part is I live in the South, which is a very, the South is a very huggy culture too.
Yeah.
So there were times when, because I was working in the shop and I'm trying to grow that business, I was just like, suck it up, take this straight.
Suck it up, my guy. Hug.
Like, and it was hard. And there would be days I'd go home and I'd be just like flattened because it was so much.
It's a lot
of work to let that happen. I'm hoping, and I've been trying to get myself to a state of being like, you're going to be a fish out of water. So everything's going to be like at first could potentially be an uncomfortable situation. And so just like get yourself into a mode of just like, is this cultural or is this individual?
Okay. So for me, like I know you for a fact, we love learning from people about what not just their cultures, what they do, what are you enjoying, what do you nerd out about? Like we love that. We love to know more and more and more. In fact, to the point of like, are you writing a book? Like so many questions.
You're infiltrating.
Right?
No, like a natural curiosity.
Right. We have a natural curiosity and this is the first time since the pandemic that I'm going to go back into, because I really enjoy that. But I've been noticing as I've been trying to go back into society, like practice, I'm like, I am hesitating like I've never had before. And I'm going to have to work on that.
I can say that you are a very different version of yourself. It's not like you're so different that I can't recognize you. It's not that, but you're definitely a very different version of yourself. And I think I am too. I mean, I think my candy coated shell has always been present and hasn't gone away. Yes. But I think it was probably harder when you met me.
Yeah.
Whereas now I am a little bit more open. I'm still very guarded. It still takes quite a while to earn trust with me. But I'm open to, how do I say this? Outside of the US or outside of the quote unquote mainstream here, if I'm in a different space, I can adjust quicker to the culture that's around than not. I've developed over the course of podcasting, I've developed some friendships that have become like real life friendships and stuff.
True.
And one of them I remember, like, so we've known each other for about 1.5 to 2 years. We've done a lot of work together in Black and Asian solidarity. Never met in person, but we've done all kinds of stuff. We happened to land at the airport. We were going to the same event, so we happened to land at the airport around the same time. So we just decided to meet at the airport and travel together, and immediately running and jumping into each other's arms. We are both mixed Asians, so the fact that like we developed that friendship, that by the time we were physically around each other, we did gather that closest. So I'm not saying that it's entirely impossible for me to get there. It's just that it comes with some difficulty for me in some cases.
Right. Well, I guess we'll put this to bed and then we'll move on to the next subject. But it's like, I just think it's interesting. I feel like you're becoming more outgoing and I'm becoming more more reserved.
I've also become a personality. Like to be fair. Okay. I'm Sharmane Fury, the daBlasianBlerd, the mixed podcaster. So I've been public speaking more. I've been stuff like that. I've always talked this much. I've always been a big talker.
That's true.
And stuff like that.
That's true.
I will hold court.
Mm-hmm.
I will hold court. But I just realized how red my tongue is and we're not sponsored, but Big Red.
We're not sponsored.
Texas. My favorite thing about Texas. I will always hold court, but I am wary of people. But now that I've become a podcaster, I realize my zero to being on is shorter. Now.
Okay. Well, maybe that's the goal, guys. Okay, internets, you're gonna help me come up with my shenanigans personality. And then I'm going to try to stick with that, and I will form
It'll just form like
around that. Okay.
Because the thing is, like, I get told, like, the reason why some people like to listen to my show beyond when it's no longer about them. So militantly mixed in particular,
Right.
like, I have some people who listen all the time. And I have some people who are like, oh, there's a Black and Korean person. Okay, I'll listen to that because I'm also Black and Korean. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's some people that look for their mix, and then there's some that are just like, whatever. With the emails that I get about me is about my authenticity and how I'm, you know, I'm always me.
Always you.
That is true about me. But at the same time, the me that is on the podcast is a slightly more amplified me. So I'm still me. I'm still doing my authentic shit or whatever. But you turn that, you press stop, and I immediately, the air goes out. You know, like, I immediately just like, you know, so it is like, it does justify. I didn't know it happened. It just happened. I just thought I was very consistent the whole time. And then I started to realize that, like, okay, showtime, bing, you know, like, it's very, it's a lot quicker now than it used to be.
I completely understand, because
it is weird to see that switch between the two of us, though.
I know.
If we were doing something like this, like if podcasting existed, if
Back
YouTube
then.
existed when we went to college, I think at the time it was AdamFilms.com was the only, like, thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, it would take 25 minutes for your
MySpace
movie to, like, no, MySpace wasn't even a thing when we were in.
Was it
we
after?
were on Friendster.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah. It's been a minute.
We're old.
But back then, if this existed, you would have been the more outgoing person.
Yeah.
I would have been just, like, waiting to trust things, and then I would come in and start talking and stuff like
I already know how this is going to go. You're going to be on the camera most of the time, and I'm going to be filming, and I'm okay with that. And there's occasionally where I will turn the camera around and be like, hi, everybody, I am here. And then go back to my business. Okay.
That works for me, too. I don't want to hold the camera.
And I think this is going to be a beautiful relationship once I get over or work through my shit, maybe get a therapist. I don't know. Internet, help me out.
Yeah, hopefully that we'll be able to find something for that. But yeah, no, 102 days.
102 days. We're ready to go.
We have a lot to do. I'm working on getting rid of stuff. So if y'all are in the market for Funko Pops, go to my Macari page.
Link it down.
I'll link it below.
Put it on the thing.
I'm slowly getting them up because emotionally it's tough for me to get rid of shit. But I'll be getting rid of a whole lot of my collectibles. Not my Japanese stuff, but like my American stuff. I'll get rid of. We'll get it soon. So that being said, I lost a whole bunch of my rubber duckies.
Where?
I collect rubber duckies, but
where are they?
So many. I have no idea. It's in one of my many moves, or they're still in boxes somewhere. Who knows? Okay. These are the only two I have. One that Sharmane gave me, and my Union Jack one. Yeah. So if anybody has rubber duckies or wants to send me rubber duckies, I need to.
Oh, that could be a thing. Queer duckies. I think that could be a thing.
I need it. I'm like so stressed out that I cannot find any of my rubber duckies.
Now I need to know. Now I got to figure out how to make a rubber ducky queer and far themed sticker. Now that we do that, so on the agenda, she's Sharmane is stating that we're paring down, getting rid of, because they're planning on going pretty much with no furniture.
No furniture. Two major appliances. My rice cooker, because Nihonjin, and my sewing machine. Yeah,
and I think you're taking it, or are you gonna mail it?
Good goddamn question.
Nick, right down.
Write a little.
Okay, note. Write it down. So, and
it would
then
be difficult. Okay, could I go? How long? Okay, let's figure this out.
You pay for additional baggage.
How long could I go without my rice cooker?
I don't want to even. I don't want to be. If we're down there for 3 weeks with no rice cooker, I'm not staying with you, because you're gonna get violent, and I don't want to deal with that. I'm not.
Because the thing is, like, right now, like when my rice cooker was broken, the tragedy of my rite of passage rice cooker. My husband submerged it, trying to clean it out.
Submerged.
Trying to be thoughtful.
Underwater.
Just
with soap.
crazy. I went 8 weeks without at-home rice.
How was it?
8 weeks. I mean, I got through it, but I've also been massively depressed over the last 2 months. Are they the same thing?
Are they the same thing? We don't know. Could they be? Yeah.
Could it be just like
Absolutely.
post-con, post-travel blues, a
Clothes
very
being
difficult
really thick.
situation with a friend kind of transitioning out of friendship, not having a rice cook? Could it be all those things? Maybe. I don't fucking know. I suffer from depression and anxiety. But for 8 weeks, I didn't have a rice cooker. Or in-home rice. Could I have gone, like, I did get rice. I went to Japanese places and I like ate rice and shit like that. I mean, that's the other part. I don't think we live if we don't have rice. So like, I had rice. I just didn't have home rice. But I'm going to Mexico and the rice is different. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Like, I'm going to try to find a Japanese, like, I already looked for a Japanese grocery store. There is an Asian grocery. I think I'll be able to get some of my shit, like all this stuff, whatever. Mm-hmm. Could I reasonably ship my rice cooker to you so that when you came back home, you shipped it to me?
To me? Yes, I could.
But could I?
I don't know.
Because I could go for a minute without my sewing machine. I don't have anything planned project. I do want to sew some shit, but I just don't have room right now as my house is in chaos as I'm packing and unpacking.
Well,
shit.
we'll look into either what are the prices for, because like you guys got as you're paring down, there's going to be more stuff you're taking.
No, absolutely, because you don't even realize, like,
you're not going with 2 suitcases. You're going with way more than that.
Yeah, and actually, I need to get suitcases. They're sitting on my Amazon wish list. If anybody wants to buy me a suitcase, no, like they're Marvel hard cases.
Oh, of course they are.
But yeah, so like I know I'm working on getting rid of clothes. I'm doing a little bit better with that. Even though my t-shirts are very difficult because it's like I got my comic book t-shirts, I got my like message t-shirts and shit like that, and then I got my podcast t-shirts. So I'm working on that, working on getting rid of my toys. I've only sold 3 so far, so it's not like I haven't tried to sell more. It's just I've only sold 3 so far. You know, I'm throwing some stuff away. I'm getting to a place where like I'm ready to just get rid of everything. I would love to be the kind of person, I will never be this person, but I would love to be the kind of person that could pare my stuff all down to one really oversized duffel and a backpack.
Not right now, but yes, that's a good goal to have.
I would love to be that person.
But not for moving your life to Merida, Mexico with 4 cats and a partner.
With 4 cats, yeah. And 2 of my cats are senior citizens. One of them, I'm not 100% sure we're gonna make it to like we can't. I think she's spry enough, but she has a lot of digestive problems and stuff like that, and so it's just getting harder and harder for her. And so like, is it 3, is it 4? I don't know. But 2 of them are 16. We know we're not gonna have them for very much long. I mean, Revan's Siamese, so he could probably stick it out for a while.
Hold on, just for spite.
Yeah, pretty much. He's like gotten really skinny and he doesn't really clean himself as well as he used to, but he could be like, I'm gonna be 25 years old. You know,
yeah, to kick me out.
Yeah. But my 2 younger ones are 8, and so I know that they'll be with us for a while. So until such time as we either don't have cats anymore because of nature, or or we find a place to settle and have 25 cats. Because if we're rich enough, that's a possibility.
That's right.
You know, it just is what it is. I don't think I can get down to that. But my goal is to try to get down to a reasonable amount of stuff where it's pretty much my art, my toys, which are going to be hella pared down. Hella pared down. Your
laptops, your equipment.
My podcast equipment. Yep. My 2 major appliances are going to be my rice cooker and my sewing machine. And I'll be ready to go. Tree, for him, it's his philosophy books.
So what I'll plan on doing is you will send me. I'm just gonna. I know how to live out of a carry-on for a month. I know how to do that because I used to do that in
That's
Europe.
how I travel. I never check a bag.
So, but what I'll do is you'll order another set of bags, and then I and Jeff will have an additional check bag.
Yeah.
That will be your stuff.
Yeah.
That's how this will probably work. Okay.
Yeah.
Internets. We haven't told you about Sharmane's trip.
My most recent trip, yeah. So the last time we talked about a trip, I think I had come back from New York, right? That was the last thing?
Yeah, New York Con.
I suffered extreme post-Comic-Con blues after New York.
It was
because
it was your first New York.
It was my first New York Comic-Con, and it's the most fun I've ever had. At a con, and I've been going to cons forever. I fucking love Comic Cons. It doesn't matter how similar the stuff is, the experience is always somewhat different, and I just fucking had a blast. And I think because in this case I traveled solo again, I was back to my more comfort zone, whereas the previous Comic Con that I went to, I had traveled with a friend, and you know, I mean, you can only spend so much time with somebody that you don't like spend time with a lot, you know. So there was just times when I was just like, man, I just wish I could just be alone, because that's how I roll. I like to be alone. So New York Comic Con was great because I saw friends outside, and then, you know, one at a time, boop, 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 boop. And then I got a whole lot of alone time. It was great.
A lot of pastries,
and
ham and cheese sandwiches.
It was really, really good time. So I came back and I had like post Comic Con blues big time. I was like ready to like move to New York and live in a closet and just like be on my own forever.
Yeah.
I was so blissful after. So I went into this like deep depression. Plus someone was staying at my house, and that was really tough too because there was this extra human.
And you were sick.
And then I got sick, and it was just like no, I didn't get sick yet. I just went through that month just being like, And then I had one trip which was like a very small turnaround trip, but I went to Oceanside, California to speak at the Black and Brown Nerd Expo with my co-host from Blerd Comics, Blerd Vision. We did a panel called Podcasting is for the Blerds, which is a panel I also did at Comic Palooza here in Houston, which is basically talking about representation of Black and Brown podcasters and in nerd spaces, especially. And so we were invited to do that, so we went down there for that. This is the second time we've attended. The original one was called Black Nerds Expo, which still exists. It happens on February. And then this one is a new one, but it's a part of the same group, Black and Brown Nerd Expo. And it's hosted by Mira Costa College. And the main organizer is JD Banks. And she's like the dopest person ever. And she's also a fellow Blasian. So already we're BFFs. So she invited us to come back to talk about our show and talk about podcasting or being Black and Brown in nerd spaces and stuff like that. So we did that. But that was just the day. Like I flew in that morning, flight got delayed, got in a car, rushed up there.
Right, I remember that.
We had a little bit of an exhibition table, which again, because of the chaos of how we got there, like how I got there and all that other kind of stuff, we didn't take that much film. Like we didn't shoot that much. Like
I didn't see many pictures or video, but there were some.
It went so fast. Like I got there about 2 hours late and then went straight to the stage. Like we did an Instagram live and then we went straight to the stage. And then after that, we had a friend that had went to high school with us that came and visited. So we talked a whole bunch, took a couple little pictures here and there. And then it was pretty much just over. And it was just it was gone. So I didn't get a picture of the costume cosplay, it was just done. It was such a fast turnaround. And that is the reason I went there, but it was all a blur. So that night I went back to my hotel. So I ended up I was going to stay in Oceanside, but I ended up staying in San Diego, so that I could get home faster, get closer to the airport. But it was going to cost an extra $400 if I left the next day. So I ended up adding an extra day to the trip just to make the trip $400 cheaper.
Jesus, I remember.
And, I remember. And then doing so, I had Sunday to kill. Like, what was I going to do? My podcast partner was going to go back to LA. So it's just going to be, and my friends that are in San Diego, like, they had lives already planned and stuff like that, kids and baseball and all that kind of shit, or hockey or something. So it's like, all right, what am I going to do? And I decided to go to the San Diego Zoo Safari Park.
Safari Park. That's a good one.
And which I haven't been to since I was like 11 or 12 years old.
My second date with Jeff
was the safari park. I love that place. It's a lot different than I recall. Like, my memory of it is only tied to just the tram that takes you through. Like, that's the only real memory I have of it. But I let it go. I went in for the whole day of a walk. I think I had like 25,000 steps that day.
Good for you.
Which I haven't been to since I was 11. And I have like really great memories of that, because for me, zoos have always been like a sad place because of the cages and stuff like that. And what I loved about the safari park as a kid was the wide open tram space. Because again, my whole memory of it was just the tram. I literally thought you went from like Africa to Asia. To like, and then it was your whole day. I have no recollection of walking around the rest of the park. I just don't remember any of that. So when I got there, I was surprised to find out like that there was all these areas to walk around in and stuff. And I did end up going through to the tram or whatever. But before I talk about any of that experience, I want to show something that I've never gotten to see in my entire life.
All right.
And so I immediately, like, it was a wrap. Like, the way I felt emotional that this was the first time I ever got to see this in real life. So I just want to share with everybody what I got to see. There's a little Roo in the Kanga pouch.
You're so cute.
Can you see it? It's
yes.
There's a little baby. Look at him. Just a little baby.
Okay. One, that is adorable. However, your reaction.
It's a baby kangaroo.
No, it's not even how you. It's not. That's not how you said it. It's a baby kangaroo. Like you're about to cry.
I am. Like, it is. I've never seen.
I've
seen kangaroos before, and I've seen baby kangaroos, but I've never seen in the flesh. I've never seen. But do you notice how close I am to this?
You are very close, and
there is not a fence between us.
She is very aware that you were there.
Yes. And I'm surrounded by like 12 people around me too. There's not a fence between us. What there is a grass line. So we weren't allowed to cross the grass. But if you go into what's considered the Australia section, there's parts that are kind of cordoned off through glass, but it's all wide open. And so they can literally come up to you if they want to. You're not supposed to go up to them, but they can come up to you if they want to. But this one was about, I want to say like 12 to 15 feet away. With a Roo, like, I was so shocked that I don't know why I keep calling it a Roo. Because I'm a
kangaroo.
Winnie the Pooh.
You're Winnie the Pooh fan. Come on.
But like,
we're gonna play
Roo, like, I was like, so they like the person that there's always a guide. Like, if there was a kangaroo anywhere near people, there was a guide to make sure the people didn't do anything.
Right.
And so like I could hear her getting on the thing and being like, okay, she's a little bit nervous and wary, so like everybody keep a heightened attention or whatever. Because there was another section about 20 feet down the hill from where we're standing, where a whole bunch of kangaroos had congregated, and she was going to be heading towards there. But if we gave her too much anxiety, she might, throw down,
throw
if
hands,
went down there and stuff
literally.
Like that. But yeah, I was so excited. I've never seen in my whole life. I've never seen a Roo in a pouch before.
Oh my god!
I fucking love it. I was so mad that it like lost focus for a period of time, and then she bounced. Like, she almost immediately after this, she hops away.
She's like, get out of here.
But yeah, so I did see a number of like I saw.
So I haven't been there in a while. Question: when you say grass, does that mean you're walking on pavement?
Yeah, so you're on like a path, and then there's a grass line. And
so if you have a stroller or wheelchair,
you can't take strollers in. Wheelchair, you weren't supposed to be able to take anything rolling, or maybe you transferred
to something that they had.
Yeah, because I noticed a lot of people that were wheelchair bound folks were in these carts that had like a overhang to kind of block the sun for people, but everybody had them. So I think they were transferring people from their natural wheelchairs into those. And so I think those probably could go in. But now that you say it, I realize I don't recall while in because the kangaroo compound thing, you had to go into a door and let everybody collect however many people, and then close the door, and then you could open the other door so you can get in, just in case there was a kangaroo standing by, so you couldn't pop out, so that the kangaroos couldn't pop out and go directly outside. So you had that, like, I call it an airlock because I watch a lot of sci-fi, but that's not really what it was. It was just a little room that you would enter until the doors was closed. Then you could open the door to go out into there, and then you were on this path, which was like a gravel path. So I think there was a different area in which they would push the people that were on wheelchairs where they could see.
Yeah, mobility assisted device policy. San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance is dedicated to providing all the guests equal enjoyment of wonderful experiences offered in its parks, which is San Diego, guys. And so San Diego Zoo and San Diego Zoo Safari Park, they're owned by the same company.
Yeah, because the safari park was originally the breeding
facility.
Program. It didn't become open to the public until much later, but it is still the breeding program for the San Diego Zoo. So a lot of the animals that end up coming through the zoo come from the park first. And then, of course, the park has its own attractions as well.
So here by pedestrian. The parks are primarily pedestrian environment. By pedestrian, we mean that individuals who move within walking areas or with or without the use of walking assisted devices such as crutches, leg braces, wheelchairs, etc. Park attendance is often at a high capacity, resulting in busy pedestrian pathways. Our goal is to maintain a safe pedestrian travel flow for all visitors while allowing the use of mobility assisted devices that do not functionally alter the nature of the experience parks provided. So in order to maintain the safety, parks do not allow guests to bring in or use wheelchair vehicles within the grounds. Bicycles, tricycles, scooters, skateboards, roller skates, or similar modes of transportation are not allowed. Parks allow strollers as well as following the mobility assisted device use with disabilities, wheelchairs, electric scooters, and segways. All segways entering the park must be operated in turtle mode. Oh, so everything must be on a low setting.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but the electric wheelchairs that you can rent at Disneyland, they have turtle and rabbit mode. And let me tell you about rabbit.
Oh, really?
You're gonna hurt people in rabbit mode.
Really?
I scared the crap out of myself in rabbit mode.
I definitely noticed that everybody had that similar, like, covered push chair. It was controlled, but it wasn't. But so many people had them that I was like, oh, those belong to the park. I could understand why they wouldn't necessarily allow it in the kangaroo compound, though, because, like, you could, like, me standing could make the kangaroos go jumpy. Right. So if, like, a person is in a wheeled thing, who knows?
And it's making a noise or something.
Yeah. So I think there was an overhang area or something where you could, like, look down into it and not walk down into it.
They say that they provide accommodation for people who do need assistance on the grounds. They also offer shuttles that are available for guests with limited mobility and guests who use wheelchairs, running on a continuous loop, stopping at the base park and the Acovanco outpost.
I don't know what that is.
Neither do I, but I'm probably saying it wrong. The park has offered limited numbers of wheelchairs and electric scooters for rent. In addition, the park provides free admission for personal attendants or a caregiver for a person who needs
that's good.
assistance. That's nice.
Yeah.
But they have a whole policy, guys, and I will link that here. I will link that here for you guys if you ever want to go. I highly suggest going to this park. It's wonderful.
Love it. For the most part, it's open enough that you don't feel like the animals are like the saddest parts for me are where the birds are. Okay, it always bothers me that they have such small areas
for birds.
And even for like the toucan. The toucan was in a space that was smaller than this bedroom that I'm in right now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't love that. Like I wish there was a sanctuary where the birds can actually fly around. The eagles were in a relatively small, given the size of the bird.
Bird itself,
a relatively small thing. But like the lions, the tigers had a big area, but they're sectioned off because they had to separate some of the tigers and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So it's not the most luxurious of places. But the safari part of it is really nice. part of me kind of wishes they would let the lions or the cheetahs go out because, like, that's their nature, you know, because all of these animals just get fed, but
natural selection.
Not for like us to watch necessarily, but like so that they can stay cats or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Circle of life type of thing. Maybe that's advocating for weird kind of violence, but but you know, cuz there's like so many gazelles and so many zebras and so many giraffes and stuff like that, and they're just chilling. And I imagine they have some sort of birth control system. Mm-hmm. Because they can't just like, because zebras will populate if you don't, you know,
nature as what our Lord and Savior Jeff Goldblum said, nature finds a way. Nature finds a way. So yes, but overall, great experience.
Overall, it was a great experience. If even as a solo person, like I like to be alone. So it's not that big a deal for me to go to an amusement park by myself or something like that. Like in this case, the only ride I guess I rode was the tram, which does take you through with a guided tour of these like Saharas and the plains and stuff like that or whatever. I didn't ride like they have this air balloon thing that's like on a string and it goes on a string on there. I don't like heights. I don't like slow heights, I guess, if that makes sense.
I totally understand. I'm trying to find out like how much everything is. Like tickets. There we go.
The tickets itself, I think were about $65, $69 for a solo person.
$65 for a day pass. There we go.
Yeah, so it wasn't too bad as far as, I mean.
And like, children between 3 and 11, everybody is $55.
It's still pricey, but like if you compare it to Disneyland, which even for a local California, LA zip code area person was near $200 for one person.
For one day. For
one day. For this, like to see as much as you get to see and walk around and stuff like that is pretty nice. The customer service in the food areas weren't great, but you know, whatever. But yeah, a lot of the like the performance-based things weren't open when I was there, even though I was there for like 5 or 6 hours. But you know, I got to see. Actually, do I have this? I should have pulled up earlier, but I didn't. There was the female lions were all clustered up on this one little teeny tiny hill area. No, I didn't pull it up yet. And one of them was, so in our household, when our cats give us their belly, we call them tummy sluts so that we can rub their tummy. Because we don't slut shame in our family. We encourage tummy sluts. And there was a lioness tummy slutting. And I immediately took a picture and sent it to Tristan because I was like, even in the wild. I love when big cats do little cat shit.
I know, but your toxic trait is, I'm going to pet that.
I am very cautious with big animals. I want to touch it, but I'm smart enough not to touch it.
But if not friend, why friend shape?
Yeah, pretty much. Like when I see the cats, I go nuts. Like I want to go to there. When I see the cats, when I see the gorillas, and when I see the chimpanzees, I want to touch all of them.
My top animals that I just cannot stop staring at. I love elephants, and if you ever take me to Africa and I ever get to see or even touch an elephant, I will cry. Yeah, I apologize.
Elephants are amongst my favorite animals too.
And I love orangutans.
Orangutans are dope. Listen, the way the apes, the great apes, the way their eyes lock on you, and you're just like, bro, I'm so sorry that you're in that case. Yeah. Like. They feel way too similar. The fact that people struggle with the idea that we have a common ancestor, like, have you ever seen a chimpanzee smoke a cigarette? You don't want to see a chimpanzee smoke a cigarette, but when you do, you're like, that's a person.
What fucking clubs do you hang out in? Good Lord, we're going to link in the bio. Anyway.
No, it's just like on the internet sometimes.
I didn't realize how many freaking restaurants they have at these parks. Good Lord, a lot.
Like there's those little like carts everywhere, but then there's like themed restaurants all around it and stuff like that. I think all I had was like a breakfast thing or something. I ended up eating off the thing because as a Californian, my favorite Californian pizza is Round Table Pizza, which only exists in 11 Western states. It does not exist here in Texas. So I went there. I ordered 2 pizzas. I wrapped up one of them to bring them back to Texas so that Tree could have some. and then I ate one in the hotel room.
Okay, let me think about this. Round table pizza. The
Italian
Supreme.
garlic supreme.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, I know it. I know. I haven't had it. I don't know how long.
Every time I go back, I have to have some. When we lived in LA, we had one relatively close, but it was outside of delivery zone, so we had to drive to it. And we did that for a while, whenever we could afford it. But if I go back to California, I always need to get it and bring it back. And then you're just like, oh fuck, I love this pizza. Because Texas, you might be surprised, has garbage pizza. I have yet to find a pizza here in Texas that I'm just in love with. There's some fine pizza.
Do not know how I lived in Arizona and there's shitty Mexican food.
Because white supremacy.
Where if you go on Yelp and they're like, and I see 4 stars reviews, I know that's all white people and it's. Yeah. But if I see, have you seen that TikTok video where they explain how to pick out Asian cuisine?
Yes.
If it's 3.5, it's perfect. Go. The food is good. The service is shit. And if that's the case, if the food is like, go.
Yeah, and also adjust your head. Like this is a queer and fart theme. Adjust your mind for what is quality service.
Yeah.
In places where the culture is not your culture. Because listen, the more polite an Asian is, well, okay, let me just put it down to more specific. Japanese. I'm mixed Japanese. The more polite a Japanese person is, the less that motherfucker likes you.
Likes you.
There is regular ass polite, and then there is so much politeness that you feel special.
Yeah.
But you would be wrong. Mm-hmm. So if Chinese are yelling at you while you're ordering food, they're probably excited that you're ordering.
They're very excited for food. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think my favorite is like I don't know if there's some of my favorite restaurants in Santa Cruz where we sang at like the Sawadee. Guys, if Sawadee is still in Santa Cruz, California or Capitola, go. But I remember I used to order food and I loved it. There was this elderly man and he's like, no, I'm going to order for you. I'm like,
fine.
Oh, okay, fine. Okay, bye.
See, the problem with being a Japanese is that you can't substitute food in Japan. And if you have allergies, sorry.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, you can't substitute food. It's a combination of being both offensive and the cook does what the cook does. And you will eat what the cook does.
Okay, so if you have an allergy, don't eat there. Pretty
much. Well, in general, if you have an allergy, like, yeah, you're just probably fucked. Because, like, listen, this is how strict it is. I'm surprised you get to order anything. That you don't just sit down and food just starts showing up. That makes more sense to me in a culture that's like, no, you can't substitute. And I'm fine with it because like especially in sushi restaurants, like the way it's prepared and the way you're allowed to eat it.
Yeah. Like
what happens here in America, that's not how we eat that food.
It's not how you're supposed to eat the food. I know.
There's a couple authentic places. And there was one nearby where we lived in LA. And it was very expensive, of course, because of its authenticity. But they would come to your plate and be like, don't put soy sauce on this. Pick it up with your hands,
pick it up with your hands.
Yeah, because sushi is a hand food. It's not a chopstick.
It's not chopstick food, and you don't dip the rice. You don't dip the rice in soy sauce. Sorry.
Upside down.
Upside down.
Yeah. So there's a whole lot of things that just like are going to be different, even as we move to Mexico. So okay, I've only been to. I say only knowing that it is a privilege to travel internationally, but I've only been to France, England, Canada, Bahamas, and Mexico. And with Mexico, I hardly feel like I've been to Mexico because I've only been to Tijuana. And it was just for a day and it was for work. And I went to one restaurant while I was there and it was brilliant food. It was amazing. But I don't feel like I've had like a proper like a Mexico experience.
Yeah.
I stayed.
You went to a tourist place.
Right. Like, well, no, I didn't. I went to work. I was working in the medical tourism field. So first we went to dental offices and then we went to a restaurant near the dental office. So it wasn't even like in the touristy part of Tijuana. That being said, you drive through it and it's just like, oh, this is East LA.
Yep.
except for like nobody speaks English in some cases. Right. Like the restaurant we went to, I just like, I was saying what Spanish I could, and then when I said even a little bit of English, glaze over, and nobody at our table spoke a sufficient amount of Spanish. Everybody spoke a little, you know, and I didn't know the Spanish name for the kind of fish I was trying to order. And so I was just like that. Like I literally just pointed to somebody's dish that walked past, and I was like, I want what that is.
I want that. Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing I could order in Spanish was tres leches, because obviously.
That's why I love dim sum. I love the dim sum because they come by on the trolleys and you get to see, and then I go, want that, I want that, I want two of those. I don't know what they are. Cut them in half.
But what I'm hoping for is, I guess, you know, like some of it'll probably feel familiar. I've lived in places where there's a large Mexican population all the time, and even though they're generationally, you know, maybe they're being generationally here, like there's a place we go to here in Houston where sometimes the waitstaff doesn't speak English, and we're, you know, it's food ordering. Food ordering is a lot easier to do in Spanish than, you know, asking for directions necessarily. So like we don't really struggle in the restaurant. But like being able to like say I'm allergic to cilantro, I haven't figured out how to say that yet. I keep forgetting to look it up, you know. And
honestly, and also get a card. So like that's
True.
what we did. We did in Italy. We just go like this. I have an allergy, so if you could just whatever. So hopefully, I mean, I've heard they're very accommodating for.
The thing with the cilantro is like I know that I can just take Benadryl, but so like if it's cooked into the food, I won't say no to that. Then I'll just be like, I'll just take a Benadryl. I'm gonna go ahead and eat it. Okay. If it's thrown fresh on top, no, that I can't take. Like even though a Benadryl is gonna help, I'm gonna feel really sick for
a couple of days.
Kicks in, and stuff. But if it's like kind of cooked into the food and it kind of pares down a little bit, it's not as dramatic of a thing. But my most dramatic allergy that when it manifests is if I get a hint of more fresher cilantro, because with cilantro it's a threefold allergy: touch, taste, ingest.
Okay.
Or smell. Touch, smell, ingest. I can't.
So if somebody were to eat a lot of cilantro and then make out with you,
I would definitely feel the effect. I would have a swollen tongue. Yeah.
Sure. Internet, take notes.
Don't eat cilantro and then make out with me.
And don't be putting cilantro in the KY jelly.
Yeah, it's not gonna be fun.
Also,
don't use KY jelly because synthetics don't work for me.
Don't work for me. Yeah, synthetics. Okay. Oil-based, guys. I mean, not oil-based. Water-based, guys. Water-based. Okay. Water-based.
Yeah. So yeah, it like I didn't get a chance to really do as much when I was in San Diego. It was a really quick turnaround of type of thing, but at least I gave myself an activity to hold me over for that whole extra day down there, because San Diego's not my favorite California city. It is very rich. It is very white. It is very racist. It is very Republican. It's not a comfortable place. That being said, one of my favorite breakfast restaurants is in San Diego. Richard Walker.
Breakfast. I'm looking it up.
It's in the Gaslamp district.
Okay. This is how popular this restaurant is, because all I had to do was Richard Walker. And the first thing that pops up is Richard Walker Pancake House, San Diego.
It's very good.
I'm going there.
That was also a place that I went to when I went to San Diego Comic-Con. No, it was when I worked for Top Chef. I went to work for Top Chef. I had a day off. I went to go get breakfast, and I stood in line to get into there, and it was very delicious. And I went by myself.
This is a fancy website for a breakfast joint, I'll tell you.
It's not cheap either. I saw the line, and I was like, oh, I'll just line up for that food. And then I get in there, and I was like, fuck. Because I was working for Top Chef, which was like 12-hour days, $9 an hour. Like, the breakdown was essentially $9 an hour.
A cup of milk is $4.50.
Welcome to California.
Okay, a Coke, $4.50.
Yeah. No, but the breakfast is very good. That being said, I don't particularly like San Diego. I only go to San Diego for Comic-Con. I have spent some time in Oceanside because I have nieces and nephews out there. But Miracosta College I really like, and my experiences with being a part of the Black and Brown and the Black Nerds Expo, those experiences are great. So I'm on board for them. Like whenever they say, hey, we have an event, we want you out, I'm going to always go to that event. So had the event had taken place in LA and it's like, you need to stay an extra day to make it cheaper, I'd be like, dope, I'm home. I can do whatever the fuck I want in LA. But in San Diego, I don't feel that comfortable. So making my day get filled with going to the park helped. And then after that, I just went to the hotel and, ate my round table pizza.
So,
all in all, very good weekend trip to San Diego.
Would you recommend, like, would you recommend for any of the groups that we belong to? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I saw like inside their gift shop, whatever thing they had. So if it was like their gorilla thing or their this or that, if they had like a card or a magnet or something like that, they also had a Pride version. Mm-hmm. So it'd be like, you might see like a magnet that had the gorilla, but there and it was in blue or something, and then the next one would be like, Pride colors or something like that. So they had some Pride stuff just in the shop, so it wasn't just like Pride, but it was just like available,
right? Okay.
Which is one of those things we kind of like, is like, you just want to live your life, and if something happens to have something for you, you're like, oh, dope, that's for me, right?
Yeah.
Things like that was nice. Having a place to walk around, like, honestly, if I lived there, I'd probably get an annual pass just so that I could do my exercise walks there.
It's a big park.
It's a huge park.
It's big.
There's some areas that are very peaceful, like where the lanterns and the little water flows are. You can just sit there and listen to the babble of the water and not really be bothered. It's really nice.
And honestly speaking, like $65 for an adult. Now I get it. I'm speaking from a place of privilege, because $65, like, that's a couple days worth of food. I totally get it. But if you think about how much upkeep it is to feed those types of animals, and medical care and keeping electricity on and water, whatever.
Also, they're a conservation organization. So they're actually trying to bring back. So there are less than 3 and only female white rhinos in the world, I think.
Yeah.
Or there's less than 11 or something like that, but 3 of them are at the park. I forget exactly. Something about 3 for sure. So they're actually trying to take they're trying to bring it back by finding or maybe they're all male and they don't have a female, so they're taking the other kind of rhino so they can try to gestate the white rhino, try to bring it back or something like that. They're the reason why the condor didn't go all the way out of existence. That's actually why it was created.
Didn't they do also something with wolves?
I think they did too. Yeah, so there's a few.
But years ago.
There's a few animals that they brought back from the brink of extinction to release back out and stuff like that too. And so like what you're paying for, given how much more you pay for Disneyland, and I understand Disneyland is like entertainment, but this is like saving animal lives.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, they're in captivity, but all these animals at this point have been born in captivity. These are all born from the previous ones for the most part. Or they get them from a rescue from another zoo or something like that. And in those cases, they're kind of separate.
Private people.
Or private ownership or something like that too. So it is more so. I know that San Diego Zoo and the Safari Park are part of the same organization, but I think what I enjoy the feels of the Safari Park more than San Diego Zoo, which I haven't been to in about 15 years, I think. I went with my niece and nephew when they were little. Is that you feel like animals have a crack at being kind of regular. They're the ones that are in the safari part of it aren't under threat of being attacked by a lion or a cheetah or anything like that. But so they're probably really chill. They probably don't have anxiety and stuff like that. But they're just living their lives, and I think that is a nice thing to be able to witness without being too intrusive. I think probably the most intrusive part is the kangaroo section, because you can interact with them if they come close enough to you. Like I saw one of the dominant males kind of smack one of the younger males who was trying to puff up, and he was like, "You're cute. Next time." But like if that turned into a big brawl, there was like 20 fucking kangaroo right there.
Yeah.
That we could have been in risk, so it's actually not probably, I mean, I don't know. I assume no one's been hurt there. Otherwise I wouldn't leave it that open. But all I know is that I was about 12 to 15 feet away from a kanga and her roo, and I was very excited about that. So, and emotional.
You're very adorable. So I
prefer animals to people. I prefer animals to people. If you showed me a homeless person next to a homeless dog, I'm going to be like, that poor dog. It'll take me a beat until I see the person. That's me.
All right. I don't want to make this. It's already 2 hours. She has a lot of editing
I
to
said?
do.
Yeah.
I know. But technically we didn't start filming until 2:30.
But still,
technically,
the record time is 120.
Yeah.
120.
Technically. Well, we're gonna come on. There's a lot in here. There's fluff in here that we're just gonna cut out.
Yeah,
anyway,
it's gonna cut like 5 minutes out. It's not gonna be enough.
So we have everybody. Internet's 120 days. Synchronize your watches.
102 days.
102 days. Synchronized watches.
102 days. I am going to actually be trying to document something on my. So I used to be a travel agent, but I recently quit doing that because I can't make any money doing it without working 24 hours a day, and I'm not going to do that shit to myself. Mm-hmm. So my Travel by Maine travel agent website, I am transitioning into a blog for the travel that I do by Maine. So I'm going to try to start documenting my process and then also pair it to what we're doing here on the show, because this show is about travel in general, not specifically necessarily mine, although I share a lot of my travel, obviously, on the show. But in preparation for this is going to be like the expat part.
Right.
Me preparing for my transition specifically out of the country, and then whatever I can cross over, I will. So I'm starting to work on that. So once I hit 100 days, my goal, which don't even try to keep me honest because I'm totally going to fail it. 100 days, I'm going to try to post something every single day for 100 days at least, if I can.
All right. We'll have a lot. So everybody, again, synchronized watches. 102 days. Tink, tink. Okay. All right. We are waxed,
vaxxed,
and fully packed.
packed.
Let's go.
We're packing. We're in the process of
We're in the middle of packing.
packing.
Okay. Let's go. Thank you, Internet.
Let's
we'll
go.
see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Queer and Far is a ManeHustle Media Podcast, produced and edited by Sharmane Fury. Co-hosted by Sharmane Fury, aka daBlasianBlerd, and Shae Nahnigans. Music is Big Band Savage Jazz by Pine Groove. If you like what you've heard on Queer and Far, please subscribe, rate, and review on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. ManeHustle Media. Turn your side hustle into your main hustle.